Hello, and welcome to APM Research, the Angels, Creation and Walter Russell Decoded. Now, as you have seen from our advanced research and decodings, we are here to decode this realm and present our findings to you, the people. We know this is paradigm shifting research, and we know it will shock you. It will literally rock your world in more ways than I can say. The world we have been presented since birth has been a great lie to hide how this realm truly works. As you have seen from our research and decodings, we have been revealing it is something far more special. This realm is a very large technological construct which of course reveals a very intelligent creator. The creator of this realm has created technologies called angels that are very much involved in the creation process themselves. We know this research will make your brain melt, and I don't think humanity is ready for all of this just yet, but we are running out of time and you deserve to know the truth. In this video, we will take you through how the angels work, how to see and recognize their processes in nature, and how to identify their signature in the heavens. When Nikola Tesla seen Walter Russell's work, he told him to lock it away for 1,000 years, until humanity is ready for it. People of the realm, do you wish to wait 1,000 years for these explanations? No, of course you don't, and it is APM's mission to bring Walter Russell's works to life and decode them for you all to understand. First, we are going to take you on a journey to help you understand how it works in the realm model, and use quakes, volcanoes and lava tubes to show how they fit into the bigger picture. Take it away, One Conscience.
Hello, so today let's discuss the volcanoes again. And as we've said before, the volcanoes are the waste and recycle system of our world. They're the vents to the underworld. Some ancients used to refer to these as their gods. They would even drop offerings like gold, and there were tales of animal sacrifice. That's true. Nowadays, they still leave offerings like leaves, vegetables, incense, candles, crystals are some of the offerings that people still do. So, let's talk about a dirty thunderstorm. I hadn't heard of it before, so it was new to me, but I'm going to share some interesting stuff about it. A dirty thunderstorm is also known as volcanic lightning. It is a weather phenomenon that is related to the production of lightning in a volcanic plume. Well, how does that occur? Triboelectric charging from fragmentation of rocks near the vent and within the plume of a volcano during eruption offers another mechanism for electrical charging. A study in the journal Science indicated that electrical charges are generated when rock fragments, ash, and ice particles in a volcanic plume collide and produce static charges, just as ice particles collide in regular thunderstorms. Volcanic eruptions are sometimes accompanied by flashes of lightning. However, this lightning does not descend from the storm clouds in the sky. It is generated within the ash cloud spewing from the volcano, in a process called charge separation. So, what's charge separation? It is the process of an electron in the atom being excited to a higher energy level by the absorption of a photon and then leaving the atom to a nearby electron acceptor. This is what happens at the CERN facility, specifically relative to the reaction plane in PD collisions in the ALICE reactor. With different plumes studied, when they started going downwind, it seemed to have a life of its own and produced some 300 lightning bolts. The implication was that it had produced more charge than it started with. A study performed in 2010 found that the water content of volcanic plumes is much greater than the water content of thunderstorms. This study also found that there may be a needed amount of concentration required in a plume for lightning to occur. Naturally occurring radioisotopes within ejected rock particles may cause self-charging of volcanic plumes. So, what are radioisotopes? They're any of several species of the same chemical element with different masses whose nuclei are unstable and dissipate excess energy by spontaneously emitting radiation in the form of alpha, beta, and gamma rays. During an eruption, a large amount of fragmented subsurface rock is ejected into the atmosphere. A study conducted on volcanic ash from Iceland volcanic eruptions found that both samples possessed a natural radioactivity above the background level. At CERN, the same process is used in the Isolide Radioactive Ion Beam Facility, located at the Proton Synchrotron Booster, the PSB. The physicists investigate the structure of the nucleus. They explore new regions of the nucleus chart and study the abundance of chemical elements in the universe. They are currently aiming to expand from its core low energy science to a high energy, and they say that's nearly complete. Currently, Isolide takes half of the protons produced at CERN from the PSB and fires them into a target to produce radioactive isotopes. This is the same process I'm talking about with volcanoes. So, back to the volcanoes. The height of the ash plume appears to be linked with the mechanism which generates the lightning. The taller the plume, it appears that the larger concentration of water vapor are contributing to lightning activity, while the smaller plumes appear to gain more of their electrical charge from the fragmentation of rocks near the vents of the volcano through charge separation. The atmospheric temperature also plays a role in the formation of lightning. Colder temperatures will create greater amounts of ice inside the plume, thus leading to more friction and electrical activity. In a study presented in the Bulletin of Volcanology in 2010, it was stated that more eruptions with lightning were reported in winter than in summer. This finding indicates that the lightning activity is driven by magma-derived water rather than atmospheric water. It has been suggested that a byproduct of volcanic lightning are lightning-induced volcanic spherules. These small glass spherules are thought to be formed during high-temperature processes, such as cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. The temperature of a bolt of volcanic lightning can reach 30,000 degrees Celsius. When this bolt contacts ash particles within the plume, it will cause them to melt and then quickly solidify as they cool, forming orb shapes. The presence of volcanic spherules aids in providing evidence for the occurrence of volcanic lightning directly. So, let's take a moment and relate this to our grid and our map and try to simplify it a bit for people to understand. So, to do that, I decided to place these volcanoes on the map with the grid overlay so we can see why this happens. So here, we can see that these fall a lot of them directly on the grid. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and it made me want to, look a little further and try to be able to show you guys the cause. So then I compared it to particle accelerators. Okay, so in this next picture, you're seeing the two of them compared side by side, and I've also circled the areas where there are accelerators and wanted to show how on each side there are these volcanic vents. So that's about all I have. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over.
Emanations are radioactive light units expelled with such great force directly through lowering opposing pressures that they become luminous as meteorites become luminous from plunging directly through rising opposing pressures. Luminosity, heat and high potential gradually lessen as light units find their orbit in their proper potential positions and float spirally and centrifugally through lowering pressure zones. They eventually impact against the inertial plane where they become generoactive, positive, non-luminous light units following centripetal orbits to the nuclear center of the next lower potential. All energy is caused by a disturbance in inertia. The energy impact against inertia is the cause of motion. The energy constant of first cause is registered in waves of varying dimensions of the same constant. The one source of energy is non-variable in its constant. Variability is an illusion of dimension. Energy expresses itself in pressure zones which increasingly resist the disturbance of inertial repose and violently assists a return to that state. Energy locks itself into varying potentials. High potential discharges into the next lower potential. The pressure zones cause an orderly orbital lowering of potential to inertia where energy is regenerated. A sudden lowering of potential would cause an explosion, a flame, or a luminous streak.
Today, let's discuss our Earth energy grid again. As we study Walter Russell's work, we can get a much grander scale of the processes of Earth. The earthquakes are one effect of the compression cycle moving inward towards the center, as well as the vortex of the angels. What occurs with earthquakes is the push starts at the east and west gates and begins to push along the lattice below. On the map, you will notice some Ds are placed. These stand for deep quake areas. You will also notice the circles. These are our Earth chakras. In the deep earthquake areas, we have some very large technological processes that are either placed deeper or have much larger processes than other regions. These areas record a depth between 200 kilometers to as deep as 700 kilometers. That's what we're told anyways. If they are placed deeper, it would give us an idea of how deep the layers go below. Or, if it is a larger process, it would be much more powerful, which would push down, up, and out with the energy of the process coming into use. An extra point of interest are that deep quakes, which is any depth deeper than 200 kilometers, will lead to a shallower, larger quake by about 1 to 2 magnitudes. Also, when two earthquakes hit from these deep areas, the central point, called the fulcrum, will also receive an earthquake. Or, at times, we don't see the effects just as earthquakes. At times, the push and vibration comes in the form of eruptions, which FPD is going to elaborate on a little bit more detailedly here shortly. A volcanic eruption is typically equal to a 5.0 at the minimum on the Richter scale for earthquakes. Once it hits a deep area, this causes a spread out in all directions from the push of the energy. From an APM perspective, this is showing us there are more activations and processes occurring that are following and aiding luminaries in their set paths. These patterns, you will notice when studying them, occur at equal distances repeatedly. Learning these points enables us to see where technology lies below. Most are placed at 10 kilometers deep, but we also have some that lay between 50 and 100 kilometers, 150 to 200 kilometers, then of course our deep technologies. Again, this is what we are told the depths of different earthquakes are. What we have noticed is these follow the sun across. However, there isn't just the sun in works here. There are other luminaries that need to be accounted for and will activate as the luminary moves over these areas, showing these are localized events. We also need to account for alignments, which have shown us in the past will affect the vibration of the grid as well. The vibration will be doubled up as the luminaries get within a certain degree point of each other. These degree differences are showing us where different technologies are located and giving us the double push. Remember, there are 144,000 of these angels below that need to be accounted for. Now, as it moves across the grid, we see the repeatable, recordable data that there's always the same points on surface that show the effects of what's going on below. These points are so much always the same that we can place them weekly on a map and redo it each week and basically have several maps all showing the same thing. Clusters will occur more north and south as it follows the sun ascent and descent towards the north and south regions based on seasons. However, again, it will always be repeatable and recordable to be the same month to month and year to year. What this also explains is antipodes, as the effect of earthquakes precedes and follows the luminaries in and out of areas through their travels. When we get to the center of the grid, our compression cycle is complete. The process then moves northward and southward for the expansion cycle. The north and south movement then fans out to head east and west to begin all over again. This is what I have referred to as the torus energy flow in the past. Walter Russell would refer to this process as the cosmic heartbeat. Now we can see it and how it works with these visuals to aid us. This is some of the major effects of the angel technology process that are very noticeable to us here on the surface.
Okay, now we will decode the quakes with the help of Walter Russell and some magnetic data from Ceres. What you will see from this spiralling is how it overlaps the key quake areas and thus causes the quakes, which we have always stated as technology switching on to aid the luminaries in their crossing. You can see what the realm is doing with the positives and negatives, the division and multiplication of the sex pairs. This spiralling pressure wave is harnessed and utilised by various technologies and halos. These are what are responsible for the quakes. You can see in the east we have the negatives and positives being divided at the equator, and in the west the same but opposite processes take place. So it basically makes 4 quarters where it divided them equally to maintain an equilibrium. These 4 areas we can reference with various colours from the likes of John Dee's work. This is the realm stacking the divided sex pairs into a type of giant capacitor of various layers. The quakes in the east and the antipodes in the west are connected and decoded with this animation, and now you can see how they are caused and the connection between them. Walter Russell's work and of course the spiralling pressure waves from the angel technologies below. Notice how the green data, which is magnetic data, appears in the red shift and vanishes into the blue shift. All the visible light of our colour spectrum is utilised, charged and discharged in time cycles. This magnetic data can also be seen here in these images produced by Ceres. This is real-world magnetic data. Notice how it perfectly matches the paths in the animation you just seen. A snapshot in time of some real-world magnetic data. You will get to understand these more as we go on. Here's 2 clips from Kim Johnson and Super Dave 44 that capture clouds taking the form of paths. This is the electromagnetic data you just seen manipulating clouds. They simply are drawn to it and take the form of the magnetic data and thus reveal its presence. So in this clip you have seen how the realm creates it, how Walter Russell defines it, how one conscience has mapped it, and how we decode it to bring it to your attention. In this next clip we are going to decode another Walter Russell image that is very much related to the angel technologies and show you how they are responsible for volcanoes. Notice Walter places these below ground. I'm surprised this hasn't been queried before, but what it is depicting is the various processes that take place with the angel technologies. In image 1, this represents a calm day with mild winds and a low pressure. The angel's halo is running at slow speed, its spiralling pressure wave and cone is mainly below the ground. The electromagnetics are represented with the excellent overlays made by P900 Coolbix's husband. In image 2, this halo is running at a slightly faster speed. Its cone and pressure wave have now breached Earth's surface and are directly affecting the environment around it. The pressure increases. In image 3, we can see the angle of the cones changing and its spiralling revolutions of speed is faster. A greater pressure is achieved and of course we get a windy day. Image 4. Danger now threatens as the cone apices approach conjunction. The gravitative centre contracts to a point north as the cones tighten their angle. This is caused by a greater speed of rotation within the halo. Image 5. The crash as the cones meet at Earth's surface. Energy formerly extended over a wide area is now concentrated to a point of north, or directly above the halo that is generating it. And of course a visual sighting of a tornado, which this technology is solely responsible for. This also decodes the volcanoes, as you can see how this process is responsible for creating them. They are basically in the induction zone of two halos, or coils, as demonstrated here in this excellent video made by DataBeat Dev. Notice it doesn't take long for this magnet to heat up and basically turn into a liquid state. It will then go into nuclear meltdown and fall and basically becomes lava. The realm and its volcanoes of course remove the lava down its manufactured lava tubes, which will exit into the sea to create sand, or become more landmass as it hardens on the surface. These halos may be the seraphim, the fiery ones mentioned in scriptures. Different halos, frequencies, angle of cones and configurations doing their intended purposes in creating, maintaining and destroying, which of course is a repeating cycle. Okay, let's go a little deeper. To explain this more, we will decode another Walter Russell image. The generation and degeneration of mass. To decode this is quite simple. The lower image represents the halo or coil, and its flow at a slow spiralling speed. As the speed increases, its magnetic field is elevated above the halo, and the conquest of centripetal force is achieved. Take note of the diamond at the centre. This is the overlapping cones you've seen in the previous clip. There are two halos with overlapping cones. One is using the right hand rule and the other a left hand rule. This is what is needed to drive the cones together to create the diamond at the centre. The top image is showing us the various angles of the cones, which is produced by different speeds. Simply increase the speed to make a tighter cone. Notice what it is doing is forcing the various pairs of magnetic poles to a point of north, or above. This basically becomes an electric dipole. This is the conquest of centrifugal force. Please take note of the changing angles of the cones that create the diamond at the centre. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how our luminaries are created and elevated above us. This is what I mean by an electromagnetic projection. They can penetrate everything, and they all play a very big part in the realm and interact with every species that lives here. Take it away, Walter Russell, P900 Coolpix and Rihanna.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Fine light in the beautiful sea. I chose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. to the universe as we moonshine and Mali. Feel the warmth, we'll never die. We're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. At first sight, I felt the energy of surrender. I saw the life inside you. Shine bright tonight. You and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I too, I'm so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. So shine bright tonight. You and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I too, I'm so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Oh yeah. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
The Creator's glory revealed. As you can see, people, our Sun's halo system reveals its electromagnetic field and the field lines and cones in use. We see it as the Sun halo and the amazing angel shape that gets revealed above it. The coloured arcs are the Sun's magnetic field in various states of sphericity, showing in the visible spectrum, which you now know is created by the acceleration of a flow around a halo, which of course bends its electromagnetic field to produce the cone and turn itself into an electric dipole of extremely high potential. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Anything we say, of course, is always going to be an understatement. We can never give this the wording it deserves, but we sure can appreciate the science, the knowledge and the glory we are seeing and revealing. Would you like to go deeper? Of course you would. And so the question becomes, what is the purpose of our angels? What are they doing? Our angels are all creators in their own right. Let me show you how. This Walter Russell chart digitized by P900 Coolpix will help me explain what is taking place here. Our angels' purposes are the very arts and acts of creation in all its forms. Take a look at the information this spiraling pressure wave reveals. This chart explains the process perfectly. Follow the pressure wave around as it spirals outwards. These are the octaves mentioned by Walter Russell in his periodic table. This is the alchemy of the technology, the positives and negatives interacting with the earth, air, fire and water events depending on the location of the angel below. Now, as you have seen with the angles of the cones, they are very important. Anything that is within the angles of the diamond can be created. As you've seen with the volcano animation, the Sun can adjust its cones simply by using faster or slower acceleration around the halo. This of course widens or narrows the cones. At slow speed it is at ecliptic expansion, and at high speed it is at maximum compression. This process now shows us on the chart the Sun is operating within the yellow parts of the colour spectrum. Anything within the cone's angles on this chart can and will be created. This now tells us the Sun is basically creating and incinerating carbon and many other materials on this list when at maximum compression of the cones. Everything within the carbon line is created and incinerated using some very serious electrical potential. Again, the division and multiplication of the sex pairs is taking place, the positives and negatives being created and divided and placed within their layers of relative electrical potential. Their mass is forced into existence through these processes of compression and expansion, and depending on the spiraling speed of the halo, the hardness and softness applies that you see within this list. You can now see how the colour spectrum plays its part in these processes. Simply adjust the cones and it will interact with that part of the colour spectrum which, as you can see, produces different materials. The red stars are items Walter Russell found himself and added to his periodic table. The division of the sex pairs, the positives and negatives, are there for you to see as male and female, and of course come under the magnetic or electric domination parts of the process. There is so much information contained within this chart it's going to be impossible to cover them all, but I want you to see how the cones' angles are related to each part of the process, and of course the spiraling pressure waves effects as it goes through the electromagnetic spectrum and interacts with various elements in the environment and atmosphere. Now, the sunspots we see may very well be various elements that are being incinerated, kind of like impurities showing that take longer to incinerate. The ones north of the sun's equator behave the complete opposite way to the ones south of its equator, as in spiralling the opposite way, which is what would be expected within an electromagnetic field such as this. In scriptures, it mentions mountains of gold, silver, copper, tin. I hope you can now see how this is easily achieved with the processes of the angel technologies. Remember, this technology is far larger than our human scale and is the very reason they struggled to describe what they were seeing in scriptures. All holy books are records of humanity's knowledge and decodings of this world around us. The decodings of our very reality and of course the Creator's glory. They go hand in hand. This is a creation, thus there is a Creator. I'll remind you again. Walter Russell stated there will be a time when religion and science have to come together. Can you see why he would say this, people? Religions were born defending the truth, the sacred geometry and its meanings, the true nature of our realm. This is evident everywhere. We have simply forgot what it all relates to. But hopefully through our research you can see how easy this really is in piecing back together our history and lost knowledge. You will also notice Walter Russell added sound to this chart, the octave scale highlighted in red. I'm going to pass you to P900 Coolpix for more information on this part of the chart.
Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world. There's nothing to it.
As you know, APM Research have been researching and decoding the waveforms, so this is an update on current research and new information decoded. All things in our universe are constantly in motion, vibrating. Even objects that appear to be stationary are in fact vibrating, oscillating, resonating at various frequencies. Resonance is a type of motion characterized by oscillation between two states. And ultimately, all matter is just vibrations of various underlying fields at every scale. All of nature vibrates. Something interesting happens when different vibrating things come together. They will often start, after a little while, to vibrate together at the same frequency. They sync up, sometimes in ways that can seem mysterious. This is described as spontaneous self-organization. We think of sound as something we hear, something that makes noise, but in pure physics terms, sound is just a vibration going through matter. The way a vibration goes through matter is in the form of a sound wave. Sound is made when things vibrate. Sound is the effect of matter colliding. It takes 3 different vibrations to hear a sound. 1. The object that makes the noise vibrates. 2. The air molecules vibrate as the sound moves through the air. 3. The eardrum vibrates when the sound wave reaches it. When sound waves move through the air, each air molecule vibrates back and forth, hitting the air molecule next to it, which then also vibrates back and forth. This is represented by an air molecule moving to the next air molecule and returning to its original position. The air molecules do not travel with the wave, they just vibrate back and forth. When the vibrations are fast, this creates high frequency. You can hear a high note. When the vibrations are slow, we get a low frequency. It creates a low note. People can hear sounds at frequencies from about 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz, though we hear sounds best from 1,000 Hz to 5,000 Hz, where human speech is centred. But these are not the only frequencies out there. For instance, humans can't hear a dog whistle, but a dog hears it perfectly fine, and there are probably billions of other frequencies that are not audible to humans, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Every object or material in our realm exists with its own certain frequency of vibration. It can be represented as a wave in which the lowest possible frequency is called fundamental frequency. Objects also have a series of frequencies because they are made up of a variety of materials. Every piece of matter has its own resonance frequency or series of frequency because all matter is made up of atoms. Atoms are formed by electromagnetic waves that have a specific frequency. When these atoms form a larger piece of matter, the frequency of the electromagnetic waves is the frequency of that matter. Our realm is made up of billions of different materials and objects. Therefore, it operates at a huge number of different frequencies. For instance, the average house brick will have a different frequency to a block used to build the pyramids, and a house built with bricks will have a different harmonic resonance frequency to a pyramid. This is what sacred geometry is about. Even the geometry and architecture of various buildings takes into account their resonant frequencies for their locations, and you can see how the architecture actually matches sound waves, and they are always rising sound waves. A good indicator that they are designed to withstand the spiralling pressure waves from below and of course from the halos above. All buildings have to take into consideration the duality of the halos, of course. We live in between these amazing processes taking place, the centre of the saying, as above, so below. We believe that buildings are not only built for the frequency they resonate with, but to harness the free energy from the air. Now we can understand better why these designs were chosen and even take a guess at which sound waves are taking place in each area. This is a very deep subject, a very large rabbit hole, as there are many processes taking place here, so we will just concern ourselves with frequency, vibration and energy, and I'll demonstrate that now.
singing and they're calling out for more. Let me take you through a night of ecstasy. I like to hear the sound of a mystic melody. Music, the lights, I sing and dance for you all night. Sequins and pearls and lots of pretty girls you gotta have. Music, the lights, I sing and dance for you all night. Sequins and pearls and lots of pretty girls give me rhythm. Forget your sorrow, let it all fade away. Forget tomorrow, let's start living for today. Let me show you all the glamour and the gold. Secret fantasies in a showbiz world. Music, the lights, I sing and dance for you all night. Sequins and pearls and lots of pretty girls you gotta have. Music, the lights, I sing and dance for you all night. Sequins and pearls and lots of pretty girls give me rhythm. Give me music, the lights, sequins and pearls. Do you ever question your life? Do you ever wonder why? Do you ever see in your dreams all the castles in the sky? Oh, tell me why do we build castles in the sky? Oh, tell me why all the castles way up high. Please tell me why do we build castles in the sky?
The frequency of a light wave is how many waves move past a certain point during a set amount of time. Usually 1 second is used. Frequency is generally measured in hertz, which are units of cycles per second. Colour is the frequency of visible light, and it ranges from 430 trillion hertz, which is red, to 750 trillion hertz, which is violet. Waves can also go beyond and below these frequency, but they are not visible to the human eye. For instance, radio waves are less than 1 billion hertz. Gamma rays are more than 3 billion hertz. Wave frequency is related to wave energy. Since all the waves really are is travelling energy, the more energy in a wave, the higher its frequency. The lower the frequency is, the less energy in the wave. Gamma rays are very high energy and radio waves are very low energy. When it comes to light waves, violet is the highest energy colour and red is the lowest energy colour. Related to the energy and frequency is the wavelength, or the distance between corresponding points on subsequent waves. You can measure wavelength from peak to peak or from trough to trough. Shorter waves move faster and have more energy, and longer waves travel more slowly and have less energy. Aside from the different frequencies and lengths of light waves, they also have different speeds. In a vacuum, light waves move their fastest at 186,000 miles per second. This is also the fastest that anything in the universe moves, but when light waves move through air, water or glass, they slow down. That's also when they bend and refract. So what do sound and light have in common? Sound and light both exhibit oscillatory wave-like characteristics with various frequencies, wavelengths and amplitudes. The sensed intensity is dependent on the amplitude of the wave. Both exhibit Doppler shift towards higher frequencies when the source of the wave is approaching us. Both undergo refraction, diffraction and interference. Walter Russell stated that waves of light do not propagate but reproduce each other from a wave field to wave field of space. The planes of zero curvature which bound all wave fields act as mirrors to reflect light from one field into another. This sets up an appearance of light as travelling, which is pure illusion. All motion is curved, and curvature is spiral. As human beings, we are good at translating vibration. Your body is a vessel that contains frequencies which can be perceived as sound or vibration. To understand vibration, a scientist named Ernst Chaldee put sand on a metal plate and vibrated the plate with a violin bow. The sand arranged into different geometric patterns. Many of these patterns can also be found in nature, such as on the back of a tortoise or on a leopard. When a similar study took place in water with sine waves, the higher the frequency gets, the more complex patterns that appear, like the divine pattern of a sunflower. Scientists called this study cymatics, from the ancient Greek word which means waves. Water, as we know, is a highly transformable substance. It makes up a significant portion of human, animal and earth, yet it can absorb and receive energy. As Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments on the water show us, water reacts and turns to different patterns that look highly related to various human feelings. Words like love or gratitude attract the most pleasing physical molecular formations in the water other than the words hate or disgust. The finding of cymatics also shows the scientific connection between humans and water. Moreover, just like when you turn to a radio station, your energy tunes into the same vibration and attracts the same information to your reality. As Dutch physicist and scientist Christian Huygens found, if you place two clocks close to each other and have their pendulum swing to a different rate, the pendulum will end up swinging at the same rate. Because we live in an energetic field, your energy output will attract the same reality to you. Scientists called this study cymatics, from the ancient Greek word which means waves. Have you ever noticed how large flocks of birds resemble harmonograph patterns? It is as if every member of the flock are tuned into the same frequency and therefore easily fly, maintaining certain patterns naturally without having to watch and pay attention to the other members for cues on how or when to move. Walter Russell said, "The trouble with humans is in forming wrong conclusions in relation to nature's expressions. We think that elements are different substances and that each substance is permanently existent as such. That is not true. Elements are but different conditions of light pressures. They are the raw materials for fashioning of creation's images in the patterns controlled by light waves. They appear when the pressures necessary for their conditions appear and disappear when those pressure conditions cease. Every element in each octave occupies its own pressure position in its wave. Each element seems to be a different substance as the electric pressure conditions of each position in each wave of matter changes. However, It is not the substance that changes, it is the condition of the substance. Voidance and recreation is one of the simplest and most obvious principles of nature. I cannot imagine how it has escaped discovery during the centuries. The universe is a symphony of vibrating strings, as all objects have a natural frequency or set of frequencies at which they vibrate, including the weather.
Follow the sun, and which way the wind blows when this day is done. And breathe in the air, set your intentions, dream with care. Tomorrow's a new day for everyone, a brand new moon and a brand new sun. So follow the sun, the direction of the bird, the direction of love. And breathe in the air. Cherish this moment, cherish this breath. Tomorrow's a new day for everyone, a brand new moon, a brand new sun. When you feel life coming down on you like a heavy weight, when you feel this crazy society adding to the strain, take a stroll to the nearest water's edge, remember your place. Many moons have risen and fallen long, long before you came. So which way is the wind blowing? What does your heart say? What does your heart say? So follow the sun, and which way the wind blows when this day is done.
Now we will decode the pyramids. We will take a little tour inside and look at the design and decode it using knowledge already gained. First, I want you to take notice of the shape of the Grand Gallery. Notice how the sides taper upwards, narrowing as it ascends. Where have you seen this before? That is correct, in Walter Russell's work where his motor divided and multiplied the sex pairs, the positives and the negatives. So what the Grand Gallery is doing is channeling energy towards the King's Chamber. Now we will take a look at the Queen's Chamber. Again, we find a channeling of energy. Someone else noticed this. I found this image on redpill.com. Do take a look at their website. So we have the King and Queen chambers directing electrical energy into 2 rooms. So let's take a further look at these rooms and what is therein. First, you notice the star shafts, as they are called. Please take note of their angles. The King's shaft's angles are 32 degrees 28 for the northern star shaft and 45 degrees for the southern star shaft. The Queen's chamber star shaft angles are 39 degrees for the northern shaft and 39 degrees 30 for the southern shaft. Also take note of the shape of the cones they both create. So using the angle of the cones and the previous knowledge decoded from our cones' angles, we can easily see they are both involved in harnessing matter from our digital chart. Pretty amazing, isn't it? These chambers are, or were, involved in harnessing electrical energies and producing elements from the Walter Russell chart. The shafts are also made of granite, which of course is conductive. These are very specific angles of cone for a very specific purpose, as you can see. This is another APM Research Decode. Brian Forster gave me permission to use some of his clips where he was inside the Giza Pyramid and also the Osiris shaft, and reporting on what looks like a black substance. Listen to Brian in these clips and see this for yourself.
And as well, one can't help but be in awe of the interior of the Great Pyramid. This is ascending into the Grand Gallery. And here we have the sheer scale and beautiful workmanship of the Grand Gallery. You can see the faceted surfaces. The Grand Gallery is hundreds of feet long, and it's an ominous and awesome experience to be inside the Great Pyramid. Our tour in March of 2020 will rent the interior of the Great Pyramid exclusively for our tour for 2 hours, which is what we do every time we go to the Giza Plateau. We will also be once again exploring the Osiris Shaft. So if you'd like to join our tour in March of 2020, the space is very limited, as in spaces. Now we're going to go into the King's Chamber itself. You have to bend over quite a lot. And once you're inside, you see that the walls and the floor are solid, very thick blocks of Aswan granite. And you can see very tightly fitting together. And this is the wall. Once again, the beautiful Aswan granite brought from more than 500 miles away. And now we're descending, once again through the Grand Gallery, of course. You can see that the ceiling is at least 20 feet tall from the ramp at the bottom to the top. This is solid limestone, perfectly fitting blocks. And now we're going to enter the Queen's Chamber, quote unquote. The labels Queen's Chamber and King's Chamber are false, because this, of course, and hopefully I'll never have to say it again, the Great Pyramid was not the tomb for anybody. It was a giant energetic device. So once again, beautifully polished limestone surfaces, super tight fitting. And now we are inside the quote-unquote Queen's Chamber. You can see that the ceiling is beveled. The giant limestone blocks fit perfectly together. The acoustics are actually very poor in the Queen's Chamber as compared to the King's Chamber. The King's Chamber's acoustics are phenomenal because of the presence of all of that granite. Limestone tends to absorb sound. And here you can see the top of the ceiling. And then this curious series of notches that in fact hide the opening to other internal areas, most likely of the Great Pyramid.
Getting ready to go down into the next level, but of course, because of the nature of the space, only a certain number could go down at a time. But this is looking down into what is the next level of the Osiris shaft. Again, cut into the bedrock. This could not have been done with hand tools during the dynastic period, with bronze chisels, etc. So now we're down in the next level and looking up to the level above, which was the small room. You can see the ladder on the right is very rickety, but a newer one was installed, which is on the left-hand side, and it is quite a safe experience to go down. And now looking into this room, there are 6 niches, and in 2 of the niches are large stone boxes. You can see the tool marks here in the wall. The lighting isn't that great, so flashlights, of course, were required. And then, again, this is one of these stone boxes you can see on the left. Very mysterious. This is moving into one of the niches. Again, 4 of them are empty. What has happened to the actual boxes, excuse me, if they were even in there, is unknown. But now we're going to focus on this, which is one of the boxes that has this very mysterious goo-like organic material on the surface and also inside. Next time we go in, I would like to actually take a sample in order to find out what that material is. It doesn't appear to simply be fire or smoke, because there's very little smoke on the ceiling. It seems as though something happened to whatever or whoever was inside the box, like an explosion of some kind. And then this is the other box, which is more roughly shaped, and inside, mysterious, massive damage, again, as if the interior of the box exploded. Very strange. This isn't simply tomb robbers going in and trying to extract material from the interior. There's some kind of chemical process went in here, which is very weird. So again, looking up the ceiling, there are bits of splat, but not what I would call smoke or carbon material from a flame. Some other kind of strange phenomenon occurred here. And this box, supposedly the material is not granite, it's not basalt, it's not syenite, it's not diorite. It's a stone that is not found in Egypt. So weighing in at a minimum of 30 tons, where did this stone come from? How was it shaped? And how was it brought down the shaft system into this niche? Here again you can see the tool marks, very similar, almost scraping like tool marks. And then we're looking down into what will be the actual bottom level of the Osiris shaft. This is Yusuf Awiyan, who was one of our guides. The water that he's in is crystal clear, and he's standing on top of another giant box that's submerged underwater. So we are presently 200 feet minimum underground in the Osiris shaft. And there is underground water, of course, at Giza. But this water is crystal clear. So where exactly did it come from? And was it intended that this water be in there and be part of whatever process this structure originally performed, because they call it a symbolic tomb, which is a really cheap way of saying we don't understand what this was made for, who made it, and when it was made. It's clearly megalithic, and thus it's likely at least 12,000 years old and was found by the dynastic Egyptians. They did not construct this, because this possibly could be beyond 21st century technology that was involved, which we see also at other places in ancient Egypt. The clear signs of lost ancient high technology that was present long before the time of the Pharaonic people.
If you don't know who Brian is or haven't visited his channel yet, I recommend you go there immediately. Brian does tours all over the realm and makes fantastic videos from many great places. You will not be disappointed, and he can even take you there on his tours should you wish to go to some of these amazing places and get first-hand information, also including exclusive visits to places not normally open to the public. Okay, so knowing the angles of the cones, we can add a protractor and see where on Walter Russell's chart the cones are designed to operate within. We will do the King's angles first, so that's 45 degrees south and 32 degrees 28 north. And the Queen's angles of 39 degrees for the northern shaft and 39 degrees 30 for the southern shaft. This places the cones in this region. If magnetic declination is a consideration, which I think it is, it gives us this configuration. You can see now what was being produced within the King's and Queen's chambers by simply using this chart. Amazing stuff, isn't it, people? So my decode of the pyramids is that they are designed to harness energies from the passing cones of various luminaries that pass by, or angel technology that permanently resides below the pyramids. Remember, the six-winged sarcophagi of Tutankhamun? This represents a sealed room below the location it was found. If you remember from scriptures, they were made very ornate, cast in gold, and even jewels were added. This is one of those sarcophagi, and it represents a sealed room below. One of the 144,000 sealed below, to be precise. Remember, scriptures tells you the underworld is their prison. The six wings represent three cones, which obviously relate to their three modes of operation, which will produce different angles of cone as you've seen in the Walter Russell image decode. A left-hand rule cone, a right-hand rule cone, and of course ecliptic expansion, where the cone is virtually horizontal and running at its slowest speed. Isn't that amazing, people? Everything is falling back into its original context and making more sense. The King and Queen chambers represent the positives and negatives of electromagnetism, and Brian rightly stated that they are not the burial chambers of people, and it is in fact a giant energetic device. So a brilliant deduction and decode by Brian, and now more information from APM research that can shed more light on the subject. To reiterate, this pyramid with these angles of cones are operating within the yellow parts of the colour spectrum. This is involved in creating matter in the carbon line. This can include gold, silver, zinc, copper, and of course others. This is a very large electrochemical process. All ancient sites can be decoded using the APM digital Walter Russell chart to reveal the angles of the angels' cones by simply seeing what is being mined in those areas. It's as simple as that, people. They are either harvesting the energies to produce their own materials and or mining and or creating any of the materials on this chart. Once you find the right angles for your magnetic declination, it is a simple case of figuring out which part of the APM digital chart applies to that location. Then simply setting the angles of your cones and build and harvest accordingly. This is obviously not to the correct scale, but will serve its purpose to demonstrate how the pyramids and associated sites would play multi-part roles in harvesting and utilising the spiralling energy waves of electromagnetism across many sites. These installations can be found all over the realm. Today's man-made sites may look a lot more modern, but they are all still doing the same processes. Sites being mined that don't have large structures nearby are more than likely areas that are in a state of dormancy, awaiting their turn to come online and do their intended roles. There is no such thing as an extinct volcano, it's just waiting for its time to come online and do its role. Do you remember the Mexican pyramid they found amounts of mercury below? Hopefully you can see now how this is easily achieved. I'm going to pass you over to Jason now for some serious science and numbers Jason decoded whilst working on this project.
Energy and mass are two states of the same thing. What we call atoms are equal and opposite electric charges held apart by a magnetic dipole. The energy is held in the atom as potential that we associate with mass. When the toroidal magnetic field collapses into the ecliptic, the negative charges are no longer bound and collapse into the positive charges. When the charges meet, a wave of energy is formed equal to the mass of the charges multiplied by the speed of light squared. The squaring is due to the fact that mass and energy are inverse properties of electromagnetism. Where the mass is equal in value to the inverse of the speed of light, the energy is equal to the speed of light. 1 over c times c squared equals c over 1. 1 over c and c over 1 are inverse to each other. Inside the magnetic dipole, the positive charges are held in the center diamond. The negative charges are held in orbits perpendicular to the magnetic field. When the magnetic field collapses into the ecliptic, the two opposed charges form an electric dipole, which quickly implodes on itself due to the fact that the charges are now free of their magnetic restraints. We know what happens when two opposite charges contact each other. We see it in cosmic ray showers. The two opposing charges annihilate each other and become radiation energy. Mass and energy are inverse properties of electromagnetism. Energy becomes mass again when it is subjected to a strong enough magnetic field to reform the magnetic dipole.
Now a quick look into more of Walter Russell's experiments reveal he was indeed working on electrochemistry and using voltages and equipment called the transmuter that had adjustable angles which caused a spike in various gases it was tested upon, as reported in Fulcrum, the science newsletter of the University of Science and Philosophy. I'll leave a link in the comments where you can download these PDFs. The Fulcrum newsletter is definitely going to be on your wants list. If you read through this newsletter, you will see they repeated the Walter Russell experiment and used the angles required for fluorine, and when it tested, it indeed showed a spike in their fluorine sample. I highly recommend these PDF files of the Fulcrum newsletter to add to your collection in your quest for science and knowledge. They contain some extremely useful information for those seeking more explanations and answers, and will give you a breakdown of the equipment that was used should you wish to look into building your own devices for experimenting in this field of research. Now I'm sure most of you have seen Roy, YouTube name Vinnie St. Vincent, and we have featured a lot of Roy's work in the APM research videos. Roy is a guy that conducts his own research and experiments with various methods of approach and focusing on ways to try and conduct free energy. He builds his own test rigs and will happily explain everything to you and break down what is taking place. We have been liaising with Roy and passing on information that we think would help further his research and experiments, from knowledge gained from our own research and decodings, mainly related to expansion and compression, and helping Roy understand more of what Walter Russell's work is actually explaining to the viewer. From this information, Roy built a mechanical device of which he is going to be testing, explaining and giving you the data he can extract from its operation. Roy has also taken it a step further, being the creative guy he is, and built another model based on what this information and design is showing him. Roy will also be running tests on this new model and recording the data and ultimately share it with you, the people. Roy will do his best to take you through all of the processes in nature that the greatest minds of modern times have shared and help you understand what they relate to in nature and help you understand the processes taking place within his model. And he will show you the empirical data as and when he has recorded it. I'll leave a link to Roy's channel so you can go and browse his extensive video collection and of course keep up to date with current experiments.
What's up, my fellow YouTubers? This is Roy back again. And Mr. Vincenzo over here. Say hi. He's doing his rounds. Protect the dad. So I've been working hard on this. I'm not going to run it right now. I'm still in the midst of aligning all this stuff up. North poles, you'll find this very interesting. North poles facing out. And then when you get into the inside, it's all south. And basically what I have set up here is the top is, even though it's screwed, I had to screw it, but it's floating because the two magnets in the center here are south and south. And the magnets are so strong, it's holding up the wheel, but the wheel wants to tilt over. So I tried to create a box just to slide the top in and let it hover on top. And basically it is, but it wants a kick to the side. So I had to throw a screw in there on each side. But it's pretty interesting. Counter rotating, I could have these run simultaneously the same direction or a counter. So this is going to be a good run of experiments. And you can see that a lot of induction on that top one there. The bottom one, a little less induction. And I'll have controls here on these variable resistors. Two separate coils, bifilers, two separate transistor systems, two separate variable resistors. Stay tuned. This is going to be pretty cool. Hello, my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. You guys leave your comments. I'll post the video up on Big Juicy over here. Do I need to give you a little taste? You guys want a little taste? You guys don't want a little taste, do you? Do I have it all hooked up? I don't know. Hell no. Stop falling apart here. You guys want a little taste, don't you? So this is sick psychotic shit here, because I put 15,000 volts in here, and basically I put the primary down the bottom, so it becomes two pickups right here. I'm not putting DC into both of those, but you're going to see a positive come out of here, because this wire is the top part of this cone. This wire is the base of this cone, and then this wire coming out is the base of this cone, but this wire that I have sitting here is the pointed part of the cone that's inside here, which is the positive. So you got a negative going to ground, you got a positive here, you got a positive there, you got a negative here, and then these 360 turns of coils in between the two pickups here are also dipoles and also have juice on them. Let's see, I need to shake up my bottles a little bit. Saltwater bath, sitting in oil. These guys here, they're pretty loyal. They are a loyal bunch. They love it. Mix up some juice over here. All right. Well, damn, I can't believe I'm doing this. Fire in a hole. end zone. Love the breathe. It's fresh air. Ionized. Leave your comments, guys. Peace out.
Let's check out these lava tubes. Take a very good look at the design of these tubes as I take you through this. While in the tube, science says lava temps at 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. When we think of lava tubes, we don't think of something that appears constructed. We especially don't think of something completely cleared with grooves of some sort along the sides, as I'm showing here. Science says the tubes have grooves due to the levels of former flows. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because wouldn't a flow of 2200 degrees Fahrenheit melt the former groove? A little bonus information regarding lava. As we all know, lava is a thick red flow. But did you know there is blue lava? In Indonesia, there is a volcano called Kawah Ijen in East Java that ejects blue lava. Science says it's due to incredibly high sulfur content. It is one of the most unusual volcanoes in the world. Its underground activities result in bright blue flames rising into the air as well. The people that live there call it Blue Volcano and describe it as electric blue fire. This one here is especially interesting. What an odd formation for a flow moving at 19 miles per hour. If you study it carefully, you will notice what we did. From an APN perspective, this narrowing that widens into this chamber is basically a venturi, which, as we know, is a form of compression and expansion, which is designed to keep it flowing, which of course is part of the cleaning cycle. In other words, it has been intentionally designed to handle this process. So, let's sum up the blue lava. Now that we understand the process a bit better, we can relate it to Walter Russell's chart with the cones and angles that are needed to produce these elements. The results of the blue lava indicate that emissions of Kawah Ijen are dominated by acid water outflows, especially for the ligands chloride, fluoride, bromine, with active fumaroles contributing significant semimetals, selenium, arsenic, antimony, mercury, as well as carbon and sulfur. As we look at the Walter Russell chart, we can see the elements being produced using the angular layout. Sulfur being the largest for this particular area, causing the very, very rare blue lava seen in this one volcano in the world. As we know, specific angles produce specific elements. Now, as I cannot elaborate yet the way I'd like to with chemistry, we can see the different angles of the cones making the different elements that have been identified in this particular volcano. The largest set sitting at 10 degrees north and 10 degrees south. all of the elements produced are of the female domain, as well as all in the magnetic property domain. It must be a mixing of these particular elements being mixed at these specific quantities, and then mixing with oxygen that make the blue lava. This is creation before your very eyes. This is the angels creating as they have been designed to do. This is one of the many functions and roles they perform. I hope this helps you see and understand the creation process itself and the alchemy of the machine. The spiral was an ancient symbol throughout the world, attempting to explain to us the workings of the angels and nature. Just a reminder from Walter Russell's work, All Motion is Spiral. We're going to show you what is sacred about the spiral today. Here is a clip I took from this video off Weather Decoded channel to highlight what is occurring. Let's check out some weather patterns. Notice how they appear to switch on and off. I want you to pay close attention to the spiral patterns that are clearly generated locally. What you are seeing here are the angels coming online to create the current that generates the wind and creates all we call weather. You will see the weather patterns as the storms move west to east across the United States. Notice how the storms arrive in different areas and display their spiraling vortex motion. This is a very obvious signature of our angel technologies. As the electric current is passed through the spiral conductor, it is generating a magnetic field. These are the field lines moving and not our planet, as Roy demonstrates here.
Now we're talking about an advanced Linky here. All right, guys? Advanced. Now, if you were to take an axle and throw it through the center, we're going to show not the Earth turning, but we're going to show the field turning around the Earth. Now, one thing I want you guys to see here is you're going to be looking at the curvature in the center. This is the center of the planet. You're going to be looking at the curvature, and you're going to be looking at the magnetic field coming out from the curvature, coming around through the center. So the magnetic field is spinning is what we're talking about here. Now I want you to look, because you're going to be looking at, when I do this, what you're going to see is a field moving out from here, around, back around again. And then you're going to see a field coming out from this end and coming back around. It's a sine wave, guys. Look in the center. It's creating a sine wave. And also in the outside part. This is the field lines on the surface. on top of the surface. You can see the energy, you can see the movement where it comes out, goes around, comes back out and goes around and moves, it comes within itself. So it got me thinking. Yes, you could look at it like that this is the energy inside the magnet. The material, like Ed says, the material of the magnet is not the substance. I'm showing you guys now the substance, on how the substance moves. You see that? You can see that it moves in and outward. And it's angular too. Now think about this. The planet sits on an angle and it moves in a cycle and of a rotation like this. Now, is the planet turning? No. It's the field turning. And I didn't even know about what you guys were talking about earlier until I realized this experiment. This experiment showed me that the field lines around the planet. Now, does the center turn? Yes. The center is a hollow. The field is turning. This experiment showed me something tonight I had to post to you guys. And I know nothing about flat Earth. I know nothing of the Earth just standing still. But in the big picture, to compress everything together, it would be flat.
The weather and clouds are not only being created, but are reacting to the electromagnetics as well. Here are some beautiful examples of this process that you should all be familiar with, and now you have the cause of these effects. This is also what's occurring with hurricanes. It's being manipulated by the electromagnetics, as well as cyclones. Just as spirals are found all over weather patterns, they are also found all over nature itself. We see in oceanic life as sea creatures get caught up in the spiral vortex here in the fish NATO, and with this colony of salps. We can see it in plants such as this aloe plant and this leafy cup coral. We also see it in pine cones, in animals such as this chameleon's tail or the snail's shell, as well as the sliced snail shell exposing the inside of the shell. Also, spiders web their homes into the spiral formation. Our own DNA strands show us the perfection and beauty of the spiral. We also can look up to the heavens and see the spiral in galaxies, as we can see in this clip here. So, I hope you can see how special this spiral really is today, and how this vortex of energy creates and affects all of our world. This is one more way we can see the angels at work, performing their given tasks. Remember, there are 144,000 of these at work in our realm.
The morning glory is very aptly named, isn't it? Some people call these roll clouds, but ask yourself this: what could possibly make clouds behave like this? Only electromagnetics have the power to do this. Electromagnetics on a grand scale. Notice the rotating vortex contained and held stationary. In some cases it appears to release the clouds and the winds take them away, which probably means it just shut down and the clouds blew away. This can also be related to the 4 pressure changes we record daily. Another option is the halo that is holding the clouds actually starts moving in a certain direction, which reminds me of the Antikytherian mechanism in a way, which means there is a very large electromagnetic device moving below. On the subject of gravity and pull, there is no such force as a pulling force, but there is an obvious pushing effect from these halos that can affect oceans and seas. You would only need to increase the power into the halo to increase the pressure. These halos can be seen stretching for hundreds of miles and are very predictable in some locations. Isn't this truly amazing, people? Look at that. Hello and welcome to APM Research, the Lunar Wave Decoded. This video is to help explain and understand the lunar wave as it has been termed. A big shout out here to 1111 Code, whom captured this amazing halo over his home. You will notice as 1111 Code pans around to check the sun's location, it is not part of the sun's halo system but a separate entity. We have covered these in previous research, so this video will help unite them all. Here are some previous research videos on these stationary halos. This is Crow 777's video capturing what he called a lunar wave. What it really is mankind's, or the humans' first ever recording of an angel's projection in the heavens, and it was captured by the moon going past the stationary halo, and it being revealed as Crow 777 calls the lunar wave. It's actually just a stationary halo in the heavens that the moon's highlighted as it went past it. So I would say he was probably the first human in history to record a seraphim's projection. This is an animation I did here to show what's really going on. There's the projection, this is the moon going past, and these are the 2 lines that you could see going down the moon. It's always 2 lines, and that's why you're looking at a circle, 2 sides of a circle basically. These are what people are calling sundogs in the heavens. They're not sundogs, they're projections used for guidance. And they usually have 8 nodes on board like this. You'll see them. When you see the sundogs, you will see these around it. So we'll give Crow 777 a little award for that. First human ever to capture Seraphim's projection. So I made a special card just for that moment. But that's what we're looking at, guys, a projection. These waves that people call them, they're just projections from the technology in the underworld. Here is another amazing video by Take Back Space TV. In this clip you can see Jupiter highlighting another stationary halo in the foreground. You will have to remember, all luminaries will highlight these halos. It is not unique to just the Moon. Notice in this clip, the first part of the halo, it was a very slim line going across the face of Jupiter, and the second part was a slightly thicker band. This can be explained by the thicker band being the closer part of the halo to the observer. Here is another amazing capture by John McKeon, who captured another halo as Jupiter highlighted it in the foreground as it was passing by in the distance. Notice the stars or moons also being occluded on the left side of the screen, indicating the halo is quite wide, which would be expected with the halo being in the foreground. These halos are really responsible for that shimmering effect we see in the heavens. They play a big part in that, as such is the nature of an electromagnetic projection. Here is an animation that basically shows what is really taking place here. Eyes to the skies, guys. People everywhere are recording the sun halo now. You can see these in some of our halo focus videos and some of our presentations. So a big thank you to all of those people helping capture these and sharing them with the world. These are very special. Look for them and you will see them. Here's another stationary halo being captured by Sandra. We originally called these Seraphim from our Decoding Scriptures 2 video, where we link them to sarcophagi and scriptures. So, halo hunting tips. Once you locate one, mark it with your compass or the general direction you've seen it. Now wait for one of the luminaries to pass in the background and record it. You will capture the projection as the moon, for instance, passes in the background. Good luck people, and keep those videos coming. There is much more to see yet. Know thy world, only then can you be at one with it. This is the current model I have been recreating of our Sun's halo system. Its technological configuration, which we have been privileged to see being revealed in the heavens. Remember, revelations simply means the construct reveals itself in the end times, the end of a cycle we have covered in our End Times Decoded videos. What we are seeing are various parts of the Sun's actual projector system being highlighted. Many parts of the solar boat's technological workings being projected, as well as the Sun's image. The Sun is attached to, or is a part of, the large horizontal halo. It is this that epicycles across our sky. Of course, its physical model is doing the same movements below. The scarab beetle represents this vehicle below, which is why the scarab beetle was considered sacred. It has very special meaning, and we can see why now. The scarab beetle decoded. It represents the solar boat, the Sun's vehicle that is projecting our Sun's halo system and image. Although I use the word projection, it is more than that. It can physically interact with the environment around it, converting elements to matter as it goes. They all operate on this same principle. The moon also has this same halo configuration, but appears to be doing a reverse role. Watch them in the sky people, you will see and capture these very special reveals sooner or later. This is what they are trying to hide, the true nature of our realm and how it really works. So we have a large horizontal halo which contains 8 nodal points, which we have previously referenced in many decodings, of which are doing different functions. We have a smaller horizontal halo at node 1, which is where the Sun's image seems to be originating from. At the front is a vertical halo, which is obviously involved in producing a vortex which is used to start the Sun generating its solar image. This one connects to the large horizontal halo at nodes 2 and 8. The two nodes we usually see either side of the Sun, and is working in conjunction with the larger vertical halo we see at nodes 3 and 7. This larger vertical halo is usually noticed by its show of colours produced in the visible spectrum, which reveals its electromagnetic nature. You can view various captures of the Sun's halos on our Sun Halo Focus videos here on my channel. A big thank you go out to all those people who have sent in their very special captures of this amazing revelation. There is much more to see yet. Eyes to the skies, people.
Land-based ones will create tornadoes, high winds, storms and lightning, as seen in these video clips. So big thanks to Chris Hughes for the tornado footage, and Underwater Huntress and Kevin Johnson for sharing their amazing waterspout captures of these events, of which you can see are an effect from the Angel Technologies. Ones below the oceans are what create whirlpools and waterspouts, storms and lightning. It is the same spiralling forces. It is the earth, air, fire and water events, referenced everywhere. This is what it truly relates to, part of the processes of the Angel Technologies. The APM model addresses and references the causes and effects quite easily, as you can see.
While we're on the subject of cones, you can see now why they are depicted everywhere, and what it is that is very special about them. This one is outside the Vatican. This is a Sumerian depiction. Notice the cones and the angel's wings. The wings represent the angle of the cones. Here is an amazing chandelier. Again, see the cone it represents. It represents the Taurus field. And even your cone-shaped Christmas tree, with its light or angel on the top that actually represents the creation of light. Doesn't this make your Christmas tree that little bit more special, people? Your hands when you pray. This is a reminder of what the cones represent, and you are giving praise for creation. This is what it truly represents, the cone's apices meeting and creating. All of what we have shown you details the creation process in its entirety. This is the true nature of our realm, people of the world. Please tell me you see this and understand what it all means. Now, considering the nature of our research and what it reveals, and with current world events, I thought it would be a good time for the team to speak their minds, so you, the people, can hear our thoughts. Unknown to you, I have had to warn everyone that comes on board with this team that there will be an element of danger with this type of research. No exceptions. It would be foolish to think otherwise, and the people hiding this are not here to play games. I take this very seriously, and working on this comes with personal sacrifices. For the most part, we try to remain anonymous, and I try to make sure the team members get as much privacy as they can. This is a reason why we keep this a small team and why we keep to ourselves for the most part. You will not find us on live streams in front of a camera. We are not what you would call public speakers, but we do hold private hangouts with people that are genuinely interested in our research, which I'm sure you will agree is the most advanced research and decodings the world has ever seen. This is not ego talking. This is the confidence in our research, decodings and conclusions, which we can and do cross-reference in many areas to get the results to make this map and model work with real-world data, scriptures, history and many other topics, of which there are too many to list right now. Each and every one of you have the right to know this knowledge about our true world, to understand its workings and to see the glory. With this knowledge comes the freedom of humanity. We should be working together and helping each other. We should all be taught this in our schools. When people lie about the shape of our world, there is a very serious reason they would do this. Our research shows you that very reason. This is a technological construct which reveals a very intelligent creator. The question becomes, how far would they go to keep it a secret? Look around and see the attempts to dumb humanity down, harming our children physically and mentally, installing harmful radiating devices everywhere that should never be anywhere near a living being. Only a type of world communism works for them, for then they have the ultimate power over all of your rights. How did we let ourselves get into this position, people? Wake up and see them for what they are, the enemy of every living species in their attempts to hide what they have done, hidden, privatized and monetized the Creator's glory. If ever there was a time for the good people left in the world to step forward and make a difference, that time is now. You all have a duty of care to your fellow human beings and to every living species that exists, or forever shall it be on your conscience.
To the people of the world, we are in a dangerous time in our world. Our minds, bodies, and souls are being poisoned by a reality created to enslave us. The leaders at the top control this physical realm to the fullest, and we, the many, are enslaved to the few. They keep our bodies weak and ill with the foods we eat and the air we breathe. They poison our children before they can even walk or talk with vaccines. They push poverty upon us while they live off our energies and our very lives of slaving away to pay for the things that should be free. They keep the vibrations of our souls low by brainwashing us every day with the poisons of TV and radio and corporate goods, and the stealing of the Creator-given energy and changing it into an unharmonious level for us to feel hopelessness and demise. We live in a world with more hate than love and neon gods that blind us to our Creator's true glory. We live with too much static sound to hear the simple songs of nature. It is truly time to take our stand and fight back against the agenda. We have come to a point that we, the many, need to wake up and join together against the dangers we face. Since we have continued to allow this monstrosity to consume us, we are the fallen, and they have continued to lie and still this realm for as long as they have known the truths, repeatedly through history. With the knowledge APM is bringing to surface, we can begin to understand our world as a glorious perfection made for us, and can supply us with all of our needs. We can unearth the truths of our histories and achieve a true freedom that mankind has not had for a very long time. Understand your world, know yourself, and share the truths.
All my life, I've been told what I can only describe as being lies. I often wondered why. Was it to keep me from understanding how the world works? Or was everyone who came before utterly stupid? Only one of those answers makes any sense, because obviously not everyone has been stupid. It's no secret that there are people out there who have gained power and wealth, and it would be foolish to believe they haven't stacked the deck against us to keep us from achieving the same. Research has shown that in ancient times, people understood how our realm works. It's written in stone on every continent. Yet we are told our ancestors carved those with rudimentary tools and had no contact with each other. We are told the carvings were the work of primitive tribes, scribbling for entertainment purposes or some vague ritual purpose. However, all these carvings and stories are surprisingly similar. Same characters, same events, same stories, with slight changes in the narratives. We have decoded many of these, and they point to a depiction of our realm and an understanding of how it all works. I severely doubt we are the only ones who have found this. We are coming up on a new age. The ancient accounts indicate this will be an age of enlightenment, and that we will have to go back to what they called the original teachings if we wish to prosper. What we have found is that these original teachings were about how this world works and what it is. It's time we knew this as a people, not just a select few bent on power and greed. This realm belongs to all of us. We are all equal, and yes, that includes you.
This is APM Research. You are the enlightened.